Hi, welcome to FunNetPy videos. This is DC here. In this video, I'm going to show you some tips and tricks on UID Changeable RFID tags. I've already made many videos explaining the basics of UID Changeable tag, and these are available in a separate playlist. So to summarize, UID Changeable tags are compatible with the MIFARE Classic tags. There is a concept called the backdoor commands. So if you ever try to buy this UID changeable tag, probably the seller will give the list of commands which needs sending to the tag so that all these features are accessible. Now I have covered these backdoor commands in detail in my previous videos. Please have a look at those. Now with this, once the backdoor commands are sent to the tag, you can read and write any block without authentication. So if you remember the operation of any the MIFARE Classic tags, so you can read or write only after a valid authentication using the key A or key B. So with UID changeable tag, you don't need any kind of authentication. So this entire tag behaves like a piece of a memory where we can just read and write and do whatever we want. Now one more thing to be that is very noticeable in these tags are the keys are readable. Now this, we really don't want anybody to read the value of the keys, but using this UID changeable tags you can read the keys as well. So you can restore. So what I mean here is, even if you write something which makes the card unreadable, you can still restore back the card. So this is best for the students who are learning how the MIFARE Classic tag works, especially the complex like operations like access rights, or if you are designing a software that uses these type of tags, you can play with the single tag because you will never be able to destroy this tag. So you can keep on formatting or clearing, and you can keep on using this same card. So if you visit my YouTube channel, there's a separate playlist called UID Changeable RFID tags. So far I've made around 10 videos, and which covers from basics to proper operations with UID changeable tags. So next I'm going to show you some of the useful features of these UID changeable tags. I have used this same software in all my previous videos, and I'm using my ACR122u reader writer. I've got a couple of UID changeable tags with me, and these changes are available in version 1.11. If we choose UID changeable tag, I'm going to place so if you click activate, so the screen in this version has been modified a lot, and we have done that to make this UID changeable tag very easy to use. So once the card is activated, in order to read and write to the entire tag, we first have to enable or send a backdoor command. So there is a button here that says backdoor, which is closed. If you hit these are the commands which I've explained in my previous videos. The backdoor commands are the sent to the card, and now you can read the entire card without any authentication. So now if you go and hit the second tab, most of these type of tags are used to modify the block 0. So I have a separate tab called block 0. If you hit the read, so you are able to read the block 0. You can also see the various commands here. Now these commands are PN532 commands. These are not the PCSC APDUs, because when we send this backdoor commands, the feature that is, there is a feature called auto polling in ACR122u that has been disabled. When auto poll is disabled, you cannot send the PCAC commands. So if you think that it's very technical, you don't have to worry about that. So you can read. So as you can see here, I'm able to read the block 0 without any authentication. If you compare reading in a MiFi classic tags, you cannot read the block 0. You have to authenticate. The most important thing here is like a full screen editor. I'm going to hit this button. This reads all the 64 blocks of this UID changeable tag. So this is exactly what I mentioned in my previous slides. You can read entire memory or entire card without any authentication. And you can see here the blocks are numbered from 0 to 63. These are a typical the MiFi classic memory structure. So you got 16 bytes in a block. Each block has got the access rights. I'm not going to spend any more on access rights because that's something which is covered in a different video. If you look at the series of commands, so I've sent around 64 read block commands, and this is the PN532 commands. Now within the editor you can go and modify any block. I'm going to modify say block 2. Just put some random number A1, A2, or go to the last 16th byte, say AF. I'm going to write. If you look at this, the write is successful. I can go to the block number 62 and type B1, B2, B3 and BF and say write, and the write is successful as well. So if you know if you're already familiar with the sector trailer block, you can also go and modify. So you have to be very careful when you modify the sector trailer. So you don't have to worry about destroying this UID changeable type, because even if you write something invalid data, you can always go back and fix it, which you cannot do in the real MiFi classic tags. Now I'm going to change the values of the key here. Say probably I'm going to set the key of says sector 2. I'm going to set the key A to A0, A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6, and I'm also going to change the value of key B, B4, sorry, B2, B3, B4, B5, and say write. Now you can change the values of the keys, which are the first 6 bytes and the last 6 bytes. You can also change the value of byte 9, but it's not advisable to change the value of B6, B7, B8, because these 3 bytes control the access rights of the 3 data blocks and the sector trailer. So you have to be very careful. I'm going to provide probably in the next version, I'm going to provide a kind of a help for you to figure out or find out the hex values for various access rights. So but if you know what you're doing, please go ahead and change and write. So I modified the sector trailer. I'm going to write it. So look at that, you can write. So to make sure that the write is successful, I'm going to take it out and activate. Try to read without sending the backdoor command. So this is very similar to the MIFI Classic. Now you cannot read. Now all these the backdoor or the backdoor reading happens only after the backdoor commands are sent. If I hit that, the backdoor commands are sent. Now I can read block 0. Now I can also read this entire tag, and you can see here the values of the keys are also readable, so which you cannot if this were a real MIFARE a classic tags. So I'm going to show you how to transfer the content of this this tag to a new tag. So I'm going to change the UID of this tag to, say for example, D1, D2, D3 and D4, and probably this I'm going to change as well. Right, so we have changed the block 0, which also consists of the UID. If you try to activate, you should see that the UID of this card has been changed. Now I'm going to read this entire content. Oh sorry, I should first hit this backdoor open. I'd open the backdoor, read. Now the entire tag data has been read. So I would like to transfer this to a different tag. I'm going to keep this tag here, and first we need to activate, and that tag had a UID of AV12C so on. I'm going to open the backdoor. Now this tag is ready for the bulk write, so I'm going to hit this write entire tag. Now this is going to transfer or write everything from block 0 to block 63. So if you're playing with these cards, you can transfer from one card to another card, and in order to make sure that this is the write is successful. So before that, if you look at the series of commands that are sent, these are all the PN532 write command, but using the sudo apdu, because we are using ACR122u. In order to send the PN532 commands, you need to wrap them with a sudo apdu that starts with a class name as ff. Now these commands are, how to use these commands are very nicely explained in ACR122 API documentation. Now I'm going to close. Now these key fobs, you need to be careful. You have to place it properly. Now you can see here the UID is a D1 to D4, which we know that's exactly what we wrote. And I can, if I try to read this entire tag, oh sorry, I forgot to send this backdoor commands. So when you start using these UID changeable tags, make a checklist. You first activate, then hit send the backdoor command, then play with this data, write, read. You can see that this data is exactly the replica of the previous tag. So now we are able to transfer data from one tag to another tag. A couple of new features have been added here. For example, you can load this data from a file. So I'm going to hit, if you hit this load file, it's going to show you a structure, your file system where you can pick the file. So here this opens up a folder, and here I got a few sample text files. If so assume that I want to load a file. So before that, probably the best thing is to show you the save a file. Now it is possible that you edit the data in this grid and put all the data you want, then you can save the structure. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to hit a save. I'm going to name this file as D1, D2, D3, D4. So this is just a UID of the tag. Probably I can also auto-populate this UID in the later version. Save. If you look at the file, the content of this file, so here I've got the dump of this hex file. You got 64 lines here, and this is the block 0, and this data is separated by a comma. So you can also go and edit these data directly and load it as well. So this is the structure, and you can keep a copy of this file, and whenever you want to write a tag with the same data, you can load this content. I'm going to show you next. So I'm going to start a new session altogether. I'm going to go to UID tag. First I'm going to load. I'm going to hit this load file. So choose this file we just wrote. You can see here this grid auto populates. Now I'm going to place one more tag. So what I'm trying to do here is the data that was in the file, I'm going to write it to the UID changeable tag. So activate, then backdoor command, then hit this write tag. So you can keep on writing to any number of tags. Now if you want to know how these tags are used in ACR122, there is a small trick here. Now say for example, so the ACR122 has got a feature called auto polling. Now if you want to use this UID changeable tag, you have to set the auto poll off. Now which is what is done when you hit this backdoor open. Now these are the various commands, the backdoor open commands. At the end, the last command is the auto pull off command from ACR122 documentation. You get all the details here. If you do not do this, then you cannot access the UID changeable tags. Couple of other things here. The ATR of these tags are pretty weird. Now this is a standard ATR. If you see the documentation of ACR122, it says anything that 0300 is a MIFA classic tag. However, if you try to see the ATR of a key fob, if you look at that, so here also is fine. I think I saw one key fob with a very weird okay, so somehow I cannot show that here. So I've seen the key fobs with the value here as FF or 88FF. Now because of that, if you have written a software which depends on the ATR, in order to find out what type of tag it is, you just have to be aware of these probably like a non-standard values. So I have provided a tab called Authentication. So whatever you see here, it was taken from the previous word screen. So now we know you don't need authentication at all in order to use UID changeable tag. However, if you want to play with the authentication, you can use this. So I'm going to show you something interesting about authentication. Now let me place a tag. Now I can go and authenticate block 0. So you can see the authenticate successful. If you look at these commands, these are the typical ACR122u commands where we first load the keys, then you call that an authentication command. But if I send this backdoor commands, now if you try to authenticate, this will fail, because as I mentioned before, when the background command is sent to the tag, and also not because of background command, it's because of this auto polling. So because the backdoor open command ends with the auto poll off, from this point on the authentication does not work at all. So just have to keep this in mind. So next I'm going to show you how to work with a non-detectable tag. So a tag becomes non-detectable if the block 0 is not returned properly. Say for example, if I go to this editor, now this byte B4, this is where the checksum is stored. Now let's assume that because you're allowed to edit in this screen, assume that you just went and put a random number which is not a valid checksum. I'm going to say what's going to happen now. Say write is successful. So next time when you try to activate these type of tags, so you cannot, activation always fails. It is because of the UID is not valid, because the 4-byte UID is used to find the checksum which is in the byte 4. So if you come across or if you got a tag which is in this condition, what you have to do is, so first put a tick here. It says, now before using your the corrupted UID changeable tag, you first have to use any valid working MIFI tags. I'm going to place this one. Now I'm going to activate. Now after activation you can take it out. Now we can place the one which is corrupted. Now send the backdoor command. Now we can read everything, and this is what it is. So you have to have a right the BC, the checksum here. So if you want to edit the block 0, please use this block 0 tab. Now here I want it to be D1. Oh sorry, I want that to be D1, D2, D3 and D4. That automatically the BCC is computed and right. So from this point on this tag is fixed. Go here, activate. Look at that, we are able to activate. So I think that's all about UID changeable tips and tricks. So, and thanks for watching.